Call me Diddy, call me Diddy.
Okay.
But when I'm being love and I'm in that mood, because I have to always remind myself, we live in a toxic world. And I choose love, that's my new name, and love wins. Love wins!
With his bold new documentary, 50 Cent steps into the center of one of music's biggest mysteries, exposing what stayed hidden for years about Diddy, Biggie, and Tupac, and sparking fresh conversations everywhere. What did everyone miss before now? What truth is finally coming forward? Join us as we dive into this big mystery. The whole Diddy situation just got way real. In November 2023, the whole entertainment world shook when Cassie Ventura filed that lawsuit against Sean Combs. And honestly, the moment that went down, Alexandria Stapleton and Curtis Jackson, widely known as 50 Cent, didn't waste a second. They locked in, teamed up, and decided they were going to put together something serious, something that didn't just skim the surface, but actually dug deep. That's how Netflix ended up dropping Sean Combs' The Reckoning, a 4-part docuseries that goes straight into the many allegations lined up against Combs, including abuse, racketeering, and sexual assault. But the series doesn't just talk about accusations alone. It moves right back to the beginning, breaking down Combs' rise, the creation of Bad Boy, and how everything slowly built into the power he eventually had surrounding him, the people around him, and the influence he carried everywhere he went. Each of the 4 episodes, all now sitting right there on Netflix for anyone to watch, has something wild threaded through them. Unseen videos of Combs himself. These clips start 6 days before his arrest and indictment in 2024. Even while under federal investigation, Combs still had someone following him around with a camera. So, what viewers see is real-time pressure, conversations with his lawyers, moments where he's clearly agitated as the accusations keep piling up, and even scenes of him still mingling with fans like nothing could break him. The kind of footage most people would never expect to exist is now right there in a documentary. That's what makes everything feel even more intense. Stapleton made it clear that the footage was obtained legally, even though Combs' team loudly complained about it, saying it was unfair and illegal. She explained how much effort went into protecting the identity of the person who filmed it. She also pointed out that Combs has been obsessed with filming himself for decades, so constant cameras around him weren't anything new. She also mentioned that they reached out many times to Combs' legal team, trying to give him the chance to speak, to share his side, or at least comment, but nothing came back. No interview, no response, nothing. Fast forward to July 2025, and things hit another level completely. Combs was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, and right now, he is serving a 50-month sentence in federal prison. That shifted everything from rumors, social media talk, and speculation into a very real legal situation with an actual sentence attached. That's something the world couldn't ignore. In a conversation with Variety, Jackson and Stapleton really opened up about what it took to make this docuseries happen. They talked about the entire creation process, from the moment Cassie filed the lawsuit to the moment they knew they had something powerful enough to shake the whole industry. They also shared how much they wished they had been able to sit down with Diddy himself during filming. They wanted to ask him questions directly, let him speak for himself on camera, and actually respond to everything surrounding him. But since that didn't happen, the docuseries had to move forward without his direct voice. They also discussed the big question everyone is thinking about now. What happens after he serves his sentence? What does life look like after 50 months in federal prison? What happens to his legacy? What happens to everything attached to his name? Those are questions hanging heavy in the air, and no one truly has answers yet. But the docuseries definitely sets the stage for how serious things have become. This whole situation shows how fast things can flip in the industry, how someone who once carried such massive power can suddenly be under the kind of spotlight nobody ever wants. From November 2023, when Cassie filed that lawsuit, to the intense filming process that went on while Combs was already under investigation, to the July 2025 guilty verdict and sentence, this is not something light. It is heavy, it is real, and it has changed conversations everywhere. How this Netflix doc got built. Let's keep it real from the jump. This whole project was not something rushed, forced, or thrown together at the last minute. Alexandria Stapleton made it clear that the work on this doc series started right from the exact day Cassie filed her suit. From that moment, the team locked in and went straight into serious development. The partnership with Netflix made things even smoother because there was no pressure to rush anything. There was no fixed deadline hanging over their heads. There was time to breathe, time to dig deep, and time to make sure everything was done properly. Work began even before any indictment existed. That meant the team had to sit with the backstory, understand it clearly, and then carefully keep up with everything happening publicly during the trial and sentencing that followed. It wasn't just about telling a story, it was about being responsible, observant, and respectful of what was unfolding in real time. One of the wildest and most shocking parts of the documentary is obviously that video footage viewers see spread throughout all 4 episodes, showing Diddy in the days before his arrest. People want to know when it was obtained and how it came in, but Staples kept it simple. There is no exact date to give, but what matters is that it was obtained legally. The team wasn't present when it was filmed, and the only thing she can clearly say is that they received it afterward. Even with everything they had already seen and heard during production, that video still shocked the team heavily. It was one of those moments where everyone had that stunned reaction, because nobody expected it to look and feel the way it did. Now, when it came to Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, a lot of people expected him to appear on camera in the documentary. Viewers wondered if that was ever supposed to happen. He explained that he was basically the only person who didn't get the chance to be on camera. He didn't complain about it because Alexandria was fully in control of how everything was being arranged and structured. He respected that process. Then he shifted into something that really matters. He talked about Keffy D, Dwayne Keith Davis, who was already in California awaiting trial, openly speaking on things linked to those major past events. Nevada clearly felt that what he was saying was strong enough to move forward legally. Just pointing this out wasn't introducing anything new because all of this already existed publicly. Stapleton added to that, explaining how this wasn't something sudden or random. This has been a long journey where Keffy D has openly spoken many times. He even wrote a book. There are tapes. There are official materials. None of what was shown was made up or casually thrown into the series. Everything came from law enforcement sources, recorded materials, agency work, and investigations, including the efforts of Detective Greg Kading. So, it was about placing everything together with accuracy and context. Because when people talk about Biggie and Tupac, the conversation usually gets flattened into just East Coast versus West Coast, like it was only about 2 individuals and nothing else. This series tried to bring the fuller picture and remind people there were many forces and layers involved, not just the simple version people repeat. When it came to the Diddy verdict, Jackson admitted he was surprised, but his surprise was more about the choices and how the authorities moved. He talked about how intense it was to see 3 different agencies come at him all at once. He pointed out that he had never really seen that level of force used in that way, even with no mafia bosses. That level of pressure was wild. He also shared his opinion that he believed the charges came in heavier compared to what he felt matched the final outcome. He thought the system went extra hard. He also expected Diddy to immediately file for bankruptcy because the legal system is brutal financially. According to him, it wouldn't even be the government that takes everything. The lawyers would slowly drain him financially because of how expensive it is to fight cases like that. Having multiple high-level attorneys working nonstop costs huge money, and if you lose, everything collapses anyway. He said you could tell that Diddy really believed he'd be going home on that specific date. His lawyers clearly convinced him of that outcome. That's why his emotional reaction in that chair made sense. Plans were already lined up. Speaking engagements and appearances were already mentally prepared. He genuinely thought he'd be back outside and moving normally. So, what you see in this documentary isn't random content. It isn't filler. It isn't exaggerated drama. It's years of work, careful planning, legal materials, research, real documentation, law enforcement involvement, and a serious attempt to place everything into full context. There was patience. There was discipline. There was time put into handling it responsibly, especially because so much of it was sensitive, public, emotional, and already under huge attention worldwide. From the start of development on that day, in November of the year 2023, when Cassie filed her suit, all the way through the indictment period, the legal journey, the shocking video, Keffy D's long trail of statements, Greg Kading's investigation work, the tense legal response, and the reaction to the verdict, this project was built piece by piece with intention. It shows how layered everything really was, how unexpected moments kept appearing, and how much of what people think they know is only the surface. The culture is watching every second. Cassie's lawsuit, the crazy house raids, the shocking arrest, the trial, the verdict. For almost 2 straight years, the pop culture world has been buzzing nonstop about the serious and disturbing allegations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. And guess what? The conversation is not slowing down at all. It is getting even louder with the release of The Reckoning, a 4-episode Netflix docuseries that dives deep into more than 30 years of Diddy's rise in hip-hop and the dark turn that followed, ending with him becoming a convicted felon after being found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. The show takes viewers through his journey from being seen as a major game changer in music to facing serious legal consequences. And trust, the buzz is loud for a reason. But even that storyline alone is not the only thing shaking the internet. There is another spicy twist, making everything even wilder. One of the executive producers of this docu-series is none other than 50 Cent, a man who has been publicly trolling and calling out Diddy ever since Cassie first came forward 2 years ago. From the very beginning, 50 made it clear that he wanted to create a documentary that would expose what he believed was Diddy's long trail of abuse. Many people thought he was just talking and would never actually do it. But he shocked everyone by not only following through, but also dropping it on the biggest streaming platform in the world. Right around the same period, Diddy recently began serving his sentence at Fort Dix. Of course, Diddy did not keep quiet. Through a spokesperson, he fired back strongly, calling the documentary a shameless hit job created by someone who has been his enemy for years and who he believes simply has a personal score to settle. On the other side, 50 made it clear that he is not doing this out of pettiness. He believes it is not about his ego or personal issue. He feels like director Alexandria brings a calm, balanced voice, and that the whole goal is to simply present the situation as it truly is, with new angles and unseen footage, and then leave the final judgment to the audience watching at home. Before the show officially dropped, most of the reckoning was already screened, and after watching it, there was a conversation with 50 Cent and Alexandria. They spoke about the final days leading up to Diddy's arrest, why they decided to dedicate a whole episode to the intense Biggie and Tupac feud, and the people they really wished had agreed to speak on camera but did not. When 50 was asked why he jumped into producing this so quickly and why he moved with such speed, he said it was truly about the culture. He felt like if nobody spoke, it would look like the entire hip-hop world was comfortable with everything going on. Many artists prefer to stay silent, stay out of drama, and mind their own business, especially because Diddy held a powerful place in the culture for so many years. But silence would make it seem like everyone was cool with it. So, in his mind, someone had to step forward and draw a line, and he felt like that person had to be him. For him, one person's actions should never define the whole culture, and he wanted that to be clear. Alexandria also explained how she got involved. As a filmmaker, the very day Cassie's lawsuit dropped, she immediately went to work mentally, trying to understand the story and thinking of how to approach it. At the same time, 50 was already planning something. She even tried to see if she could secure an interview with Cassie, but everything moved so fast. Within just 24 hours, the lawsuit came out, then it settled, and the world was left stunned. It felt like a massive explosion of information that suddenly went quiet when Cassie stepped back. But nobody felt like the story could just end there and disappear. Soon after, she and 50 began talking, and they started connecting on how to shape the documentary, if they were really going to do it. Even though they are two very different people, they both agreed on one thing. This situation is not simple, not one-sided, and not easy to understand. It is messy, it is complicated, and it is confusing. But that is exactly why they felt it wanted to be told properly. They wanted something that respected the culture and protected the legacy of hip-hop, while also honestly showing the journey of this man who had such a massive impact. At the same time, they wanted to give space to voices that have been quiet for so long. They wanted those who felt silenced to finally have somewhere to speak and be heard. Once they agreed on that vision, everything moved forward at full speed. The whole conversation in straight-up clear light. Alex made it clear that some documentaries are made in a way that tries to push viewers into thinking a certain way, almost like they are being fed ideas instead of being allowed to think for themselves. He strongly separated his work from anything that feels like propaganda. For him, a real documentary means stepping into journalist mode, respecting truth, and presenting facts clearly. It means letting both sides speak and letting viewers understand the situation without being forced in one direction. He explained that when people started talking about them, there was already a buzz, a reputation building, and people were watching closely, probably assuming so many different things. That made it even more important to stay grounded and responsible. He also pointed out something really key. The film includes people who are still close to Puffy. That matters because it shows that the film is not built on random talk or only one-sided opinions. It shows that people involved still have real connections to him, real experiences, and real insight. That alone makes the story stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. Another thing that makes this project stand out is that it is not just talking heads or basic interviews. They worked super hard to get rare footage, audio, and exclusive materials that had never been seen before. These pieces help support the story, especially for people who may doubt or struggle to process everything. Instead of just telling viewers something, they add material that helps people see and understand more clearly. Then comes one of the biggest shocks. Right when viewers start watching, they are hit with footage of Puff just before his arrest. Not only that, but it turns out he was actually filming himself during that extremely stressful period. Of course, the big question is how they even got that footage. When the interviewer asked, 50 responded in the most real way possible. He basically flipped the question back, reminding the interviewer that journalists never reveal their sources, so he wouldn't either. But he did explain something important. When you are really part of the culture, things come to you faster than they would to outsiders. Information, material, and content move through circles, through people connected to the situation. That is how it surfaced, and that is how it became part of the project. Even though he didn't want to break down exactly how it was obtained, the interviewer pushed further to ask why Puff would even want a camera on himself during such a stressful time. 50 kept it real and honest. He straight up said he did not know why anyone would want to do that, and his first reaction when he saw it was pure shock. It was one of those moments where you just sit back and go, wow, because it is surprising to see anyone document themselves at such a tense point in their life. Alex then added another layer to help make sense of it. He reminded people that during his sentencing, Puff actually released a documentary he made to present his life. So it is pretty clear that Sean is someone who likes to film himself, likes to capture his life, and likes to put his own story forward. He has a long history in reality programming, so being on camera is not new to him. It is part of how he expresses himself and part of how he handles moments, even heavy ones. Alex made it clear that whatever the final intention may be, it is obvious that Puff likes to control his own narrative. He likes to shape how his story is told and how people see him, and filming himself is one way he does that. So, when you put everything together, you get a clearer picture. You see why Alex wanted to ground Cassie's situation in truth again. You see why he wanted to step back from wild narratives and sensational noise. You see the effort behind making something honest, balanced, and supported by real material. You also see why having people close to Puff in the film matters and why exclusive recordings add real weight to the conversation.